Wenze no suma kauphendule well. All right. So the Johannesburg mayoral candidate Helen Zille recently defended Jacob Zuma. This was at the unveiling of a billboard and their bill to replace BEE. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what's going on there, and you're going to have very unique insights into where we are as a country, because we are going to this destination. South Africa will prosper. You ready? Good. Press like and let's go. So you remember the soundtrack that gave us the MK party? Wenze nuzuma kauphendule. Let me sing it for you in English for those who are not Zulu speakers. What has Zuma done? What has Zuma done? Can you answer me? You're running propaganda. Tell me what Zuma has done. And then the second time when they come around, they go, hey, Pala Pala, Mr. Pala Pala, answer me. You're running propaganda. Tell me what Zuma has done. Few months later, 15% to MKP. Now let's take you back 3 years and see how this swept the ANC like crazy. Start here. Current ANC Chief Whip Ntuli gets up on a stage and says, let us sing an ANC song. You know, maybe a song that goes Oliver Tambo or Solomon Mahlangu. And what happens at the KZN conference?
So I need a volunteer who can come to the mic here and lead us on the ANC revolutionary song.
Yes, Solomon Mahlangu,
ex-ANC.
Solomon. Yeah. We pala pala kauphendule.
Amandla. Comrade.
Yes. Propaganda. What has Zuma done, guys? But that wasn't all. Even a year later at the big national election conference, this is what happened when the president of the ANC tried to give the biggest speech, and then Mr. Zuma walked in, interrupting him.
I would like to appeal that we stop singing. Let us stop singing so that we should get on with the tasks that our members have given us to come to this conference and represent them. I want to appeal even to those
What's going on? Pala, pala.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you. Thank you.
We're pala, pala. Pala, pala, go pendulum.
Thank you, comrades. Thank you. Let us now start. Comrades, let us start with our conference. Let us start with our conference. Let us all be seated, please.
And so then Jacob Zuma took it by storm and took 15% from the ANC. Now, just a day or two ago, Ms. Helen Zille launched the DA's replacement for Black Economic Empowerment, the policy. This was her speech.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Before you, you see the binary choice for South Africa. More corruption and elite enrichment for the ANC, or real opportunities for all in this country, and empowerment policies based on poverty, not on race. We can measure poverty, so we don't need race as a proxy. We can design our policies to help the poor up the ladder, not re-enrich an already obscenely enriched elite. And that is the choice facing South Africa, and we hope more and more people will make the choice that puts South Africa on the path to economic prosperity. The DA actually designed our policy that is summarized on the billboard behind me in the 1990s, when the ANC first conceptualized BEE and cadre deployment as their official policy. And at the time, I remember it absolutely clearly, we said cadre deployment would lead to the corrupt and criminal state. And of course, everybody at the time called us racists. Why not? What else is there to say? They said we were against this because we didn't want black people to succeed. And we said this is complete nonsense, and you will see over time what happens. And what happened? Criminality and corruption became entrenched and endemic, to the point where the corruption is the system in many spheres of government. It's not disrupting the system, it is the system. And if anybody tries to disrupt the corruption, like Thomas and Marie Klutter, like Babito Deokaran, like Boa van Niekerk, they get killed because a party that is a criminal syndicate cannot be threatened. I've been completely shocked in scratching the surface of Johannesburg to see just how much corruption is the system. And at the time we said this will lead to the corrupt and captured criminal state. And that's exactly what happened. And when Jacob Zuma used to say, I did nothing wrong, I was just applying ANC policy and BBBEE, he was quite right. His capture of the state, his abuse of state institutions, and the application of the policy that has impoverished South Africa is ANC policy. And Jacob Zuma was quite right. Why are you picking on me? Everyone is doing it. Now, of course, that's no excuse in law, But like Jacob Zuma, many, many more people must have their day in court. And the progress of the National Prosecuting Authority on this issue has been a desperate disappointment to all South Africans. BBBEE and state capture have resulted in massive impoverishment for the majority of South Africans. Why? Because the only chance you have of getting a job is if the economy grows. And if there's been corruption in the municipalities, as we've seen, and the money has been stolen, and you don't get water, electricity, refuse removal, sewerage, and all of those services, no one is going to invest. That's why we've seen a mass exodus from many parts of the country to areas that are governed by the DA, and there you see how unemployment comes down. Because when people who have an idea and want to invest see a city and a town that works, their money goes into investing there. In Midvaal, in this province, where the DA has been in power since the beginning, the ANC never ruled Midvaal, unemployment is in single figures. That shows you how DA policy leads to economic growth and job creation. And that is the critical thing you have to learn. In Cape Town, unemployment is 10 percentage points lower than the rest of the country. Why? Because the DA gets value for money, all of the systems work, people invest, the economy grows, and voila, jobs for many, many more people. And that is the choice facing South Africa. So we are unveiling this billboard today as the culmination of a policy that we formulated in the late 1990s and has now landed on the desk of Parliament in the form of a bill that we would like to make law. And there's been a big shift because previously we would have been called, and we were called, racist for this crucial empowerment policy of ours. Today, more and more people say this is the way to go. This is the right way to go to beat poverty and to increase opportunities and to build job creation. And so we will continue this fight for South Africa for as long as it takes, because we believe that the poor need to be empowered and have job opportunities, and we believe that South Africa can be a model plural democracy for the rest of the world. But time is running out. Lixesha ngoku. The time is now. And we have to make absolutely sure that more and more South Africans realize that their choice in this election is make or break for our country. Thank you very much.
So the DA has now gone full out to try and replace the BEE policy. Layman's terms, they're trying to replace BEE with PEE. While the ANC says if you black, you qualify for this and that, they say no, if you poor, you qualify for this and that. Because Ramaphosa is a billionaire, why should he qualify for any kind of empowerment when there's someone with a small business in a shack somewhere and they don't get in because they don't know any comrades? So let it be measured by where the person is, so that the empowerment reaches Sipho in the shack instead of going once again to Fikile Mbalula's friends and cousins and on and on. So the DA is going for it. The ANC is obviously opposing it right now. Many people in the country do support it, but their biggest struggle is this. A journalist was right here. She listened to this whole speech. She heard it clearly. And she asked a question that shows she was listening to the speech.
With the SABC, you seem to have a problem with corruption. Why don't you deal with corruption as opposed to collapsing corruption and BEE together? Because what it sounds like is you're saying that black people are corrupt. That is what it seems that you are actually saying.
Do you want to rewind and listen to the speech and then come back to this? Tell me in the comments below how these two connected. Okay, so Helen Zille answered and they went on engaging with the media. Matt Cuthbert, the DA head of policy, said something interesting about BE that I had heard many times from Mr. Mbeki.
In any ANC policy document predating the transition to democracy and any other manifesto of some sorts, or just the general discussion with, the Freedom Charter and so forth, there was no mention of black economic empowerment as a policy. This was cooked up in a boardroom with big established business who wanted to buy out political entrepreneurs within the ANC. And fundamentally, this is what created a system of exclusion rather. And the ANC, I think, have been very effective at selling the snake oil, that this is somehow their own original thought. But from the early 90s onwards, until this was then formalized into legislation in the early 2000s, this was in fact a product of big business who locked other people out of the economy. And that's why we talk about the structural factors that need to be addressed within the economy so that we are able to unlock opportunity and allow South Africans to climb up the social mobility ladder.
So BE didn't come from no black guy. It came from corrupt, white-owned at that time business, big business. BE is when a murderously corrupt government run by black politicians hooks up with big business to rip off the rest. So South Africa faces a choice. But I want you to hear something from one of the leading analysts in the country, Frans Cronje, who talks about this thinking that 60% that was run by the ANC is still run by the ANC with the EFF and MK. No, most of South Africa is giving up on ANC policy because they're starting to see that it has now become a murderously corrupt system.
Voters are not voting for the policies of those parties. They're voting for something else. For the EFF voter, the kind of person, the average, would be a kid who's been at a rubbish school, can't get work because he can't get a proper job, he can't take care of a family and do what, people are supposed to do. And he's just adrift and has no esteem in society. There's nothing to give him that. And the EFF, with its militant populism, offers him the chance to belong to something. He can put on that red beret. The MK voter did not vote for the MK manifesto. The MK voter voted in the main on the perception of Zuma's persecution. And Zuma's election strategy, the short-potted version of it, was to say, I'm a great hero of the struggle, which he was. And you conjure nostalgia, which is so powerful. And then he said, admittedly, I've made mistakes, which is that very important honesty of Bill Clinton when he was canoodling the interns in the Oval Office. And Americans just thought, fantastic, look, he's like us. And the third thing that Zuma then did is to say, but look at what the ANC has done to me. It's persecuted me. It's abandoned us. And the three things resonated perfectly in a band of the ANC voter base, and they turned out for that. But if you do the same exercise with that we've described here, with EFF voters or MK voters, you will find the same thing. These are in the main good and decent people who, because of their upbringing, circumstances, abandonment, the extent of populism, the extent to which the media has disparaged the alternatives, the more centrist alternatives, stigmatized the DA as one example of that, find themselves in these kinds of parties. But it's a mistake to think that the people who got there are deplorables. They're not. And it's that even inside that EFF or MK base, if you ask EFF voters if kill the Boer is hate speech and terrible and shouldn't be done, it's an overwhelming majority that agree that is a terrible way to behave and one shouldn't.
So there we go. There is a shift in the country, and we are not where we were 5 years ago or 10 years ago. And more people are starting to open their minds to wisdom. So wisdom calls aloud outside. She raises a voice in the open squares. She cries out in the chief concourses at the openings of the gates in the city. She speaks her words. How long will you naive ones? Will you love being naive? For scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn at my rebuke, wisdom says. Surely I will pour out my spirit on you. I will make my words known to you. Because I have called you and you refused, I have stretched out my hand and no one regarded. Because you disdained my advice, you don't listen to my correction, I will also laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your terror comes. When your terror comes like a storm and your destruction comes like a whirlwind, when distress and anguish comes upon you. This is wisdom speaking, saying, keep ignoring my common sense and you will suffer. Then they will call on me, but I won't answer. They'll seek me, but they won't find me because they hated knowledge. Isn't it funny that the people who come with common sense for how South Africa can prosper, like me, are the sellouts? Yeah, by who? By those who hate knowledge and do not choose the fear of the Lord. And by fear of the Lord means what? A respect that you didn't create the world. So just because you think it doesn't mean it'll work. You must check how things work in this world, which you didn't create, and try align with those economic and political principles. So they would have none of my counsel and despise my every rebuke. Therefore they shall eat the fruit of their own way and be filled to the full with their own fancies. For the turning away of the naive will slay them, and complacency of fools will destroy them. But whoever listens to wisdom will dwell safely and will be secure without fear of evil. That's Proverbs chapter 1. So we will do what it takes to make sure that enough people who are not too foolish to listen to reason, to listen to common sense, actually get to sit and consider common sense and make the best decisions for themselves, their future, and their families. That's why I keep saying, no man can serve two masters. Either he'll love the one or hate the other. He'll despise the one and honor the other. You can't serve God and Karl Marx, but the hold of Marxism is weakening. Those going to EFF and MK are not mainly following the Marxism. They're following other things. But eventually, many of them will get to a place where they can move now from that to common sense. And I think that will happen and South Africa will prosper. So let me hear your thoughts below. So I believe by the end of 2025, we would have been very close or have passed the 100,000 subscribers mark. So I hope you're not one of those who are going to be left outside of that movement, right? And not just subscribe, but click that bell and select all so that you catch all of our videos. So, but I'm looking at it as 2026, we will be a 6-digit subscriber channel. So looking forward to it. Let's make history together. Cheers.